Hey everybody, I wanted to um, express a few things on my mind regarding the recent current events with this whole immigration issue. Um, and I want to say that I think I have um a good point and experience to talk about these things. Um, Being that I was born in New Mexico, in Silver City, New Mexico, the southwest corner, about less than an hour away from the Mexican border. When I was about 8 years old, or no, 7 years old, I moved to um, 30 minutes, 30 minutes east of Albuquerque, New Mexico, where I lived most of my life. My stepdad was an Albuquerque cop when I was 9 years old, for about 20 years. Um, and then I also had a very good friend in elementary school and middle school. Her whole family was born in Germany. Her father was a scientist at Sandia Labs in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So I overheard a lot of things growing up when I was younger. Um, and I know some things about the geography that most of America, I feel, really doesn't have a clue about. Um, I live in Minnesota now. I live in a huge greenhouse business, um, and I have a huge garden. So, anyways, being from New Mexico, I just wanted to clarify quite a few things regarding this issue that I've been seeing all over the news, all over Facebook, all over everything. Um, the immigration, illegal immigrants, and the wall, Trump building the wall. First of all, most people don't even understand the geography of New Mexico unless you've lived there for yourself and you know about things like the Rio Grande River. The Rio Grande River is the third largest river in our country, and it starts in Colorado, goes all the way through the center of New Mexico, goes down through the border of Mexico, goes through Mexico and out into the Atlantic in the Gulf of Mexico. And most people don't even have a clue about that. But what I thought about instantly when Donald Trump mentioned this whole wall building business, um, being that I've lived there, it's not going to solve the major problems that I have seen. Um, it's not going to solve it because what most people don't understand is the term wetback comes from the fact that most of these illegal immigrants are coming up to our country illegally through the Rio Grande River into Albuquerque, New Mexico. And what a lot of people don't know about Albuquerque is it is a major crossroads. Interstate 40 and I-25 intersect right in Albuquerque. I-40 goes from California to Florida, and I-25 goes from Mexico to Canada, and they both crisscross right in Albuquerque, close to the Rio Grande River. So it is a major crossroads for transporting um, major drugs for the Mexican cartel gangs that are coming up. There's a lot of semi trucks and truck stops and things like that. Um, so my instant thought about this whole wall business is Donald Trump is probably, and most of you are probably unaware that when you build the wall, which involves the border of Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, he's going to encounter the Rio Grande River. And what are you going to do? You can't build a wall through the river. Hopefully, he's not stupid enough to put a dam on that river because what will happen is it will change the environment drastically if he dams the Rio Grande. If you do that, then in August and September is the monsoon season, the monsoon rains. And when that happens, I've already seen it. It does flood the Rio Grande already, and there are dangerous flash flood warnings in Albuquerque. So I can tell you, if you dam up that river, it is going to massively flood Albuquerque, which is about 1 million people. I don't think you want to do that. So it will have to be built with different materials so the water can pass through and it's not changing the environment drastically and flooding parts of Albuquerque. The other thing is that the wall the wall is not going to keep out the major criminals, the dangerous ones, the real threats, because those ones have small airplanes, they have boats, and they will fly right over that wall in a second, and nothing will change. They already do. They already fly planes. They already fly their own small private planes. Wall or not, that's what's going to happen. The ones that are a real threat, the dangerous ones, the ones that are committing crime, the ones that are murdering, stabbing, shooting cops, bringing massive amounts of illegal drugs and things into our country. Those are the real threats. The wall is really going to keep out the ones that have a backpack and all that they can carry in a desperate attempt because they're starving and they have poor conditions. Maybe they're from Juarez, Mexico. Um, and their family is starving to death and they're desperate and they will work harder than most Americans I have ever seen. Um, and most of them work on produce farms, cattle yards, horse ranches, things of that nature, and do seriously difficult, hard physical labor that most Americans are not willing to do. I have seen it for myself. So I will say this, like there are some false things that I've been seeing all over the place that are not true. Um, and I just want to clarify some of that. What I've seen is that people saying, well, they need to come in here to our country legally and do it right. And I agree. And so do most of them, believe it or not. Most of these illegal immigrants want to be legal citizens. They really want that. But I'm telling you, the process in order to do that is very long, very complicated, and ridiculous. These incompetent system secretaries need to get their shit together to process people legally a whole lot quicker and a whole lot better because it just takes too long and they are desperate. They're starving to death, some of them, and their families too. So what do you want them to do? Some of them are trying very, very hard to go through the process to become legal, and some of them succeed. But I have known many, many cases where it has taken them years of processing paperwork and going through the scenario to become a legal citizen, and most of them want to. So there's that. The other thing I've seen that is false is that they're coming in here illegally and they're committing a crime, so they go to jail. That is very false. And I will tell you the reason why I have evidence to back up that fact is because my stepdad was an Albuquerque police officer. So I know what happens if you are illegal, you are not a United States citizen. All that they can do now is send them back to their country. They get a free trip back. They get deported back to their country. And the real criminals, let's just say a real illegal criminal from Mexico comes up to Albuquerque. He robs a gas station. He shoots and murders the gas station worker behind the counter. He just committed murder. He just committed robbery. But I'm telling you that he will not go to jail. They will put him on a bus to be deported and dropped off at the border in Mexico. And next week he will be right back up doing it again. I have seen this problem time and time again living in Albuquerque myself, having a stepdad for a police officer. I know this is true. The same is true is if someone from France or Canada or England or Australia or China or wherever they may be from, if they come over here and they commit a crime, they are just given a free trip back to their country and deported. They do not go to our jails. They do not go through our justice system. They do not see a day in court at all. But we, however, us citizens, tell me how this is fair. If I were to rob a gas station and kill a gas station worker for, murder, commit murder, I would be locked up in prison the rest of my life, would I not? But this is not happening to people that are not citizens, and it's wrong. It's very unfair to us. And you should be outraged about that, knowing that that's a fact, that is what's happening. I believe the answer is to pass a law stating that anybody that comes to our soil and commits a crime will go to our jails, will be processed through the justice system accordingly, see their day in court just like the rest of us, and be punished accordingly to their crime, just like we do. But they don't. And that is the major problem. Those are the ones that are a threat. Those are the illegals that are a threat to us. Those are the ones that commit crimes and get away with murder, only to be sent back to their country to do it again next week and float up the Rio Grande to Albuquerque and do the same thing next week. And I have seen it, living there myself and having a stepdad for an Albuquerque police officer. My dad is also a Vietnam veteran, and he lives with me now. I live in Minnesota now, and you wouldn't believe, even though I have lived here in Minnesota for 17 years, how ridiculous people are about geography of our own country. I tell people here that I'm from New Mexico, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Mexico? Why aren't you Hispanic?" That's how ignorant people are, okay? Like they think that they don't have a clue that New Mexico is part of the United States. They don't understand why I'm not Hispanic. I am Native American, by the way. And I'll tell you that my second college degree is Spanish and Latin American culture. I studied that and got a full degree in college. I got to meet a lot of people from other countries and around the world. I got to study world business and marketing. So I understand like how much business is done between the United States and Mexico. That is our neighbor. And I'm telling you that is where most of our grocery store's produce comes from, especially in the wintertime. And unless you all grow huge gardens like I do, I have 2 acres of garden space and a huge greenhouse business, so I'm okay. But you all go to the grocery store and totally unaware of where your produce comes from. Most of that produce in that grocery store, I guarantee you, comes from Mexico, especially in the wintertime. And unless you all are prepared to grow massive gardens and grow avocados yourself, then I suggest we work out a better arrangement with Mexico and not piss them off and have them pay for this billion-dollar wall, because they're making their country's money by sending the produce to us in our grocery stores and a lot of other products that come straight from Mexico. Now, the other thing that I question is, why don't people take note of people from other countries like Canada? I live in Minnesota. I live about an hour away from Ontario, and I can tell you, no one would give a shit if someone from Ontario, Canada, was living in Minnesota illegally. Think about that for half a second, would you? Um, so I believe like there needs to be a new law stating that anybody that commits a crime on our soil, illegal or not, if they're here on vacation or not, if they're on their visa or whatever the reason why they're here, if they commit a crime, they should go to our jails and be put through our justice system and punished for their crime and not get away with it. We wouldn't be able to get away with that. Um, and then I also believe the process to become a legal citizen should be a lot better. There should be actual secretaries or whoever processes this paperwork garbage needs to get their shit together because I'm telling you, the system on down to the secretaries suck and they are incompetent of handling this in a reasonable manner, in a timely manner, they just don't. And that's a problem for them becoming a legal citizen if they want to, and they're going to be a good providing um, citizen that doesn't break the laws, or whatever, and contributes to our society. Um, Last time I checked, America was a melting pot of different cultures and different beliefs and things like that. None of us are 100% not immigrant, except if you're 100% Native American. I am part American. My grandmother on my father's side was Comanche, and on my great grandmother's side as well, she was Blackfoot and Lakota. So I do have a piece of that, but I'm also part Irish. They were immigrants a long time ago, and so were my Swedish ancestors as well. Especially being in Minnesota, the Scandinavian immigrants that are here in Minnesota and Wisconsin areas of our country. So, I mean, really think about it. None of us are 100% not immigrant related, except full-blooded Native Americans. So, I mean, nobody would care if a person from Canada came down and decided they were going to live in Minnesota now illegally. You know, um, they wouldn't be making a fuss like they are now about Hispanic people. I do believe that separating the families and the pictures of the kids locked in cages and things like that is bullshit. And what a lot of people don't get is they've been saying, oh, well, if you come in here illegally, you're breaking the law, and if you break the law, you go to jail and you're separated from your kids. Yeah, if I went to jail, I'd be separated from my kids. But they are not in jails. They are in a holding facility. It's not the same thing. And hopefully those kids will be reunited with their families, which is what my thought is as to why the kids have numbers on them so they can join with their parents and be put on the deporting bus down to Mexico is what I believe is happening. They're not in jail. They're being detained, waiting for the bus to drop them off in Mexico. That's what's going on. So it's not as big as people are making it out to be. Hopefully these kids will be joined with their family. I don't think they should be separated in a situation like that. I do not feel that there's a need to be separated in two separate holding pens or fences or whatever in the holding facility before they wait for the deporting bus. I think the family should stick together and wait until they're deported. and not separated from their parents, because that's a scary situation. That's a traumatizing situation that no child should have to go through just because their parents were trying to come into this country illegally. Yes, yes, that is against the law, but the law sucks as far as processing them to get them legal citizens. Um, so I just wanted to point some of these things out, just some things to think about, and think that I have good reason to stand upon what I'm saying, and my own experience being from New Mexico. I think a lot of people from Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas um, need to speak up, just like this, and share the truths about it all. Um, I know that the Hispanic culture is extremely important and crucial to a place like New Mexico. All the rivers, all the mountains, all the streets are all in Spanish. The majority of the culture is Native American and Spanish in New Mexico, as well as a lot of those states in that area. Um, so I just wanted to express my thoughts and my experience with it, and share it, so maybe people can hear some facts that they didn't think about, and pull up the map of the Rio Grande River, pull up the map of Albuquerque and see what I'm talking about with the crossroads, the real criminals and the real cartels. Did you all know that Albuquerque is the number one top crime city in the United States? Not Los Angeles, not New York City. It's Albuquerque, and that's for a reason. And I've seen a lot of crazy shit, with my stepdad being a cop since I was 9 in Albuquerque, and some other things in my own personal experience being there. So we need to figure out some better solutions, because so far the solutions that have been presented won't solve the major issues really going on.